I have the unfortunate responsibility to let everyone know that Owen Hart has died.
Owen Hart, born May 7th, 1965 in Canada, was a member of the famous Hart wrestling family. His father, Stu Hart, taught all the kids to wrestle in the famous dungeon, and two members from the Hart family who would go on to be major superstars in the WWE from that dungeon were Owen Hart and his brother Bret Hart. Bret Hart had gained major popularity in the WWE and had become the WWE champion. However, in 1997, after the Montreal Screwjob, Bret Hart left the WWE to go to WCW. And so this was a chance for Owen, who had maybe been living under the shadows of his brother Bret, to come out and really emerge as a superstar of his own, and he did that. And so we fast forward to May of 1999, Owen had gone back to using his blue blazer gimmick. And it was at the pay-per-view event Over the Edge on the 23rd of May 1999 where Owen Hart, aka the Blue Blazer, was scheduled to fight The Godfather. For this match, Owen was being lowered down from the top of the arena as part of his gimmick as the Blue Blazer, but things went horribly wrong, and tragically Owen fell from a height of approximately 78 feet into the ring and to his death. Owen was just 34 years old. People in the arena didn't know if it was part of the show or not, or part of a storyline, but everyone soon found out pretty quickly that this was real. Several attempts were made to revive Owen, however tragically he died due to his injuries. And in this video, guys, we are going to hear from the man who was there, that is Mr. Vince Russo. He is being interviewed by the legendary Rowdy Roddy Piper. And Vince Russo was of course there that night. He was writing scripts and storylines for the WWE. He was a major part of all that side of things. And in this interview, he is telling the story of what happened that night in his own words. Let's go check it out.
With all respect, though, I want to there was a tragedy there in '99, and I'm just respectfully, but I'd like to get your take on. Again, I just want to get your take as a man on Owen Hart, and I want to be respectful to his family and to you, but I would like to know. We're talking Crash TV, and I understand it. When a territory's down, it's a smart thing to do. You got, hey, it's, sex and rock and roll, a little bit of profanity, and my wings are as black as anybody else's. And I talk about, I spoke of a little bit earlier about when you hotshot a territory, you got to, and you agreed, you got to keep kind of topping yourself, and it is exhausting. Anybody that's ever wrote, if they've never wrote television, they have no idea how many hours, and then when you leave the guys, you're still thinking about it in your head. So I respect that, but in a endeavor to keep things rolling, there was an idea to have Owen kind of like fly down into the ring. Could you just start from A and just explain that to me? Again, being respectful. I'm not.
No, right. No, Roddy. I know because and we spoke about this briefly. Roddy, there wasn't an idea. An idea was never discussed. First of all, we're talking about this. This was a pay-per-view, so it wasn't. It wasn't Crash TV. It wasn't television. I mean, this was a pay-per-view, and as you know, pay-per-view is that's where you really pay off the wrestling, and you give them the long match that they want to see, that they pay money to see. So it's a totally different animal than television. So,
but television is the one that what you did on TV last is what makes that pay-per-view draw.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So, Roddy, the pay-per-view that we're talking about is already written. It's done. We're finished with the pay-per-view.
Who wrote
the pay-per-view, me and Ed Ferrara.
Okay.
And Roddy, the pay-per-views. I mean, you know this. I mean, the pay-per-views are a lot easier to write than the television shows because it's all wrestling.
Yes.
So Ed Ferrara and myself, the show is done. So I'm in the office by myself. It was probably, man, if I had to guess, Roddy, I'd say it was probably a Wednesday or a Thursday night, and it's late. It's after 6. Not many people are in the building. I'm working in my office. I have the format in front of me, and I'm dotting the I's and I'm crossing the T's. All of a sudden, I get a phone call at my desk from a guy that had worked at the WWE for years and years and years, and I know that you know him. His name is Steve Taylor.
Got it. I know him.
And he was in charge of building operations for decades, at the WWE. He was there from the early days.
Yes, he was.
So I have the show in front of me. Steve Taylor calls me, and Steve says, "Listen, Vince," he goes, the rigging crew that repels Sting, they want to come to our pay-per-view on Sunday to show us, what they can offer the WWE. He goes, "Is there anything they could do?" Mm-hmm. So, at that point, I'm like, "Well, Steve, let me take a look." So I go to my format and I'm looking up and down the format, seeing if there's anything these guys could possibly do. And then, it's just me at this point. I come across, Owen Hart is, as the Blue Blazer, is wrestling the Godfather that night.
Okay.
So now I'm thinking, okay, these are the guys that repel Sting. They want to come and show the WWE what they can do for them. Why not give Owen a grand entrance? If they can repel Sting, if they can repel Owen, like they repel Sting, it'll be a great entrance for Owen. It'll be good for Owen. Why not suggest that? So that's exactly what I did. I said, "Well, Steve," I said, "there's this one part in the show." I said, "Owen's the Blue Blazer." I said, if they want to work on his entrance, that'll be something cool to give to Owen. See if they're interested in doing that. And I basically left it at that.
Okay.
So my point is, Roddy, it was never originally written into the show. It was not something we discussed. It was not something that was important to the show. It's not something we planned on doing. It was this one phone call that triggered the conversation.
So it didn't get a lot of attention.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, then, I got, okay. Owen Hart, I was told, was afraid of heights. He had a problem. He didn't really want to do this piece of business. Did you try the rigging before? Did whoever these guys are, whatever, did they test it out with Owen? And these are things I've been told, and I'm looking for the truth.
Well, Owen, Roddy, I could tell you this, okay? And Roddy, if you want me to go through my drawers here and find the Bible and put my right hand on it,
no, not
I
necessarily.
Gladly will.
We're talking like men here.
We're talking about, absolutely. First of all, Roddy, you have to understand, okay? I loved Owen Hart, without a shadow of a doubt, and you knew Owen. Yeah. If you couldn't not love Owen if you know him. It's that simple. If there was one person that didn't get along with Owen, then I suggest you take a long look in the mirror. Something is wrong with you.
Absolutely.
That's the type of man Owen Hart was.
Absolutely.
So, he was loved by everybody.
Yep.
Okay? If Owen Hart and this is a conversation too, Roddy, and I wish we had a little bit of more time, but I'm going to bring this up too because this was a part of it. I'm going to give you
the time. Let's take the time. You know, let's get something done. With all due respect, you know, it's important not only to the business, but it's just important to the people that were around. I'm here. Let's go through the whole damn thing to the WCW and tell the truth.
Roddy, there's something very important here that, like, I want to get out. Okay. All right. So my point is this: I love the man. I loved him.
I hear you.
Was a joy to work with. Okay.
True.
If Owen Hart would have told me at any time, I'm afraid of heights. I really don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. I feel uncomfortable. Roddy, end of story.
Was it possible he could have said it to someone else?
But absolutely. No question.
In trying not to make waves sometimes, you know, you don't want to really go for the establishment. You're kind of like, hey, I don't want to do this.
But, Roddy, can I tell you what I think is the flaw in that story, to be honest with you?
Go ahead.
Okay, Roddy, he never said a word to me. As a matter of fact, Roddy, let me just go forward with the story, then I'm going to back it up.
Sure.
I saw Owen after they did the test run. I saw him. He was in the jumpsuit. He was at the coffee urn getting a cup of coffee. He had already practiced it during the day. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I said, you know, he was getting coffee. I go over there, I'm getting coffee. So, of course, you know, Owen, how'd everything go? Everything went great, no problem. Vince, can you do me one favor? I said, bro, whatever you want, Owen. He goes, listen, right now, the way it's written, my entrance is second after The Godfather. He said, Vince, if you do it that way and The Godfather's already in the ring, when I'm coming down for the rappel, that'll be like a piñata. You know, Godfather should be able to beat the crap out of me while I'm getting my harness off. And I said, bro, I said, you're dead on. Absolutely right. No problem. No problem, Owen. We'll change the entrances. You'll come first.
Okay.
No problem. End of conversation.
So,
okay.
Gotcha.
Wait, right. Let me tell you one more thing because I think this is vital.
Go ahead.
Now, when you say to me, could he have told somebody else? Roddy, here's the thing, okay? There was one instance, okay? If you remember, and you probably don't, bro. I mean, you've been through a billion angles in your life. But the angle was, a couple. The angle was, you know, Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart were tag team partners, and Deborah was involved in the time.
Okay.
At the time, okay.
Gotcha.
One of the things I suggested to Owen, you know, prior to this day was, Owen, we want you to have a crush on Deborah because we thought it would be funny for an Owen Hart to kind of like have a schoolboy crush. And, you know, here's Deborah, this voluptuous woman, and, you know, there's, you know, good old squeaky clean Owen Hart. We just thought it would have been entertaining.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
When I pitched it to Owen, he said to me, Vince, he said, please, even though I know this isn't work, even though I know it's a story, Martha would be extremely upset with that.
Sure.
So he told me he
Martha,
had a problem.
His wife
told me he had a problem with that storyline.
Gotcha.
So, you know, right then and there, I said, Owen, end of story, done. You're not comfortable with it. Your wife's not comfortable with it. It was just an idea. If you know, if you don't want to do it, then we'll figure out something else to do. End of story. And Roddy, here's the thing. And you'll understand this, Roddy. And I'm glad we're talking about this, and I'm glad I'm talking to somebody who has been, you know, just prominent in the business for so long.
Thank you.
Roddy, I can tell you, okay, as a television writer for 3 different companies, and, you know, I wrote from like 95 to 2012, whatever it was, I never, ever made any talent do anything that they were uncomfortable doing. If somebody said, you know, I don't like that, I'm not comfortable, blah, 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 you know,
I understand.
we would say, but Roddy, here's the problem. There's that there's still that psychology in the business that if one of the boys, says that they don't like an idea or that they feel uncomfortable doing something, they're going to lose their spot. They're going to be punished.
And that's a very real, paranoid subject. It's very real, that threat. Because I want to say this, that, and I appreciate what you're saying, that Owen came to you, and because let me just show you the way that I can see this. Is if it was me, and they wanted me to do this, and I went to the office and I was talking with you, and I'm going, listen, okay, my wife isn't go. I'm going to myself. My wife's not going to go for this. I'm scared of heights. I don't know. So I go to the guy and say, hey, Martha will never buy. So I've already turned one angle down. And because anybody in the WWEFG, they'll just fire you, boom, like that. Sometimes for no reason. It doesn't matter. It's business to them. And so if I'm going along and I got something to do and I get one concession, then you're afraid for your spot. You're afraid for your job because, they use that and have for years.
So very interesting listening there, and we'll get to part 2 here in just a moment. Russo talking about how he would never make a talent do something that they didn't want to do, and how Owen Hart had actually turned down an angle that he didn't want to do, telling Russo he didn't want to do that thing with Deborah because it would offend his wife. But then we've got Roddy Piper digging just a bit deeper here, stating to Russo how if a wrestler turns down one angle, they may feel that they can't turn down a second angle, in other words, alluding to this fall from the rafters. Piper just suggesting possibly that Owen thought he may have had to have done it after declining that storyline with Deborah. That is what Piper is alluding to here, or just asking about at least. So let's get back to it, guys, with Roddy Piper and Vince Russo.
Roddy, can I tell you this, Roddy? And
anything you want to.
Yeah, and Roddy, I swear to you, this is the God honest truth. Okay,
all right,
Roddy. All the time that I was writing television, and I'm including, a solid 3 years being connected to Vince McMahon's hip. Okay,
gotcha,
Roddy. My experience in all 3 companies. Okay, I never one time, and this includes my relationship with Vince, I never one time witnessed any performer who was punished in any way, shape, or form, whether it was spot, whether it was money, whether it was to be sent home. I never once experienced one performer who was punished because they spoke up being uncomfortable about an angle, or not liking an angle, or not wanting to do an angle. Never one time in my experience. Now listen,
I know dozens of them.
I know you, and that's what I was just going to say. Roddy, I can't speak for your time because I'm sure that was a totally different animal. But what I'm saying is when I was writing, when I was in charge of that, I never experienced one time where somebody said, I don't like that, I'm uncomfortable with that, I don't want to do that,
gotcha,
and they were punished.
Okay, let me just put this in so we're on the same page here. Owen Hart would come from the same school that I come from. What I'm saying is with Owen, he may not have wanted to do, but aired to somebody else, another one of maybe his brothers or guys that he rode down the road was like, I really don't want to do this. I'm scared of heights. I don't want to do this. Whatever it is. Boom, he's up. That's another take on it. And would he go back to Vince Russo, who maybe he had like a whole lot of respect for, didn't want to displease him, already had gone and played a card, you know, hey, my wife's never going to go for this, please. You know, I got enough heat. Can we just... And, you know, then there's like an obligation because, again, Owen and anybody else that's a real pro is trying to work his way up that ladder. And as he's there, it's your job, your responsibility. And we'll take myself. If I'm in the main event, it's my responsibility to fill that arena because everybody underneath me on the card, they're expecting a good payday. And if I'm not selling it out, I need to be taken out of that spot. At the same time, hey, Rod, you better have your stuff together and sell that out. You know, on the flip side, Vince McMahon, hey, Rod, you better sell it out because I've just put about, you know, $4 million worth of TV time into you. So it just doesn't become quite so black and white from the school I come from. And, you know, I'm going back to with Owen and repelling down.
Well, Roddy,
and I'm just talking to you, okay?
Yeah, no, Roddy. Hey, listen, but here's the thing. I respect everything you're saying, and I don't doubt, you know, anything you're saying. But here's the thing, Roddy. You have to also, if we're going to look at it from that point of view, which is fair, and I understand because you just explained to me from a wrestler's point of view, and I totally understand and I get that. But now you have to look at it from, you know, Vince Russo, you know, the writer of the show point of view.
Right.
Not being a wrestler, you know, in the situations you were in and in the situations Owen was in, and not having lived that where, you know, maybe you did something once, you didn't do something once and you were punished, or you know, you didn't get pushed as quickly as maybe you thought. You know, having lived those experiences that you guys lived back in that day, which was a different time, right?
Yep, I was blackballed.
Yeah, well, my mindset is completely different. My mindset is, okay, I'm the writer of a television show. You know, my job is to write a script. And like I said, you know, Roddy, I just want to remind you and everybody else, this was not originally written in. It was never part of the show.
And what do you mean? But when you say that, you just want to make that note. But it did become one. Why is it not important that it was kind of like an afterthought? Does that mean that it was kind of rushed in there, maybe making it possible for a slip up? Or just
No. It just means that originally when we wrote the show, this was not written as part of the show.
Okay.
The only reason this was written into the show was because that phone call came from, you know, Steve Taylor and, you know, the rigging crew from WCW wanted to do business with us. That's how it came about. Mm-hmm. But I want to get back to my point anyway, but I understand everything you just explained to me and where Owen's head may be at. Okay. But you got to understand where Vince Russo's head is at. It's 1998, 1999, whatever it is. I'm the writer of a television show. In this case, a pay-per-view. Uh-huh. I've not experienced, you know, what wrestlers have experienced. The only experience I have is, you know, the last 3 years when I'm writing with Vince McMahon.
Yep.
So my mindset is going to be, if there's something written in this show that you're uncomfortable with, man to man, you're just going to tell me you're uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, but I can't. Like, I don't know, but I can't.
But my point is, I don't know that. I didn't experience what you experienced. All I experienced was, okay, I've been working with Vince for the last 3 years.
Gotcha.
There's been guys that haven't wanted to do certain things. I never saw any of them, you know, get punished or get their push held back or it cost them money. I never witnessed any of that. Therefore, in my mind, if there's something here you're uncomfortable with, you tell me about it. It comes out of the show, and it's just that simple. Just like the scenario did with with Deborah and Owen.
So very interesting there how Vince Russo was explaining that part with Owen up in the rafters, that was never originally written into the show. It was never scheduled to happen. It wasn't a big deal, and it didn't even need to happen. And it was just such a tragic event. Another controversy, of course, was would the show stop or would they continue with the show, and it was decided to continue with the show even after Owen had died, so another very controversial moment there. So it was just a few weeks after Owen's death that the Hart family sued the WWF over how dangerous and how poorly planned the stunt was, and that the harness system used was defective. After over a year and a half into the case, a settlement was reached which saw the WWF give the Hart family $18 million. Martha Hart, Owen's wife, used that money from the settlement to establish the Owen Hart Foundation. And in his DVD set, Bret Hart said that he wishes he had been with the WWF that night because Owen's accident would never have happened, as he would have discouraged Owen from performing the stunt. A tribute match was held for Owen between Bret Hart and Chris Benoit on WCW Nitro, October 4th, 1999. And the match took place in the same arena in which Owen had fallen to his death, and that was the Kemper Arena in Kansas City. Owen was a husband and a father. He had 2 children, a boy and a girl, and they lost their dad Owen at a very young age. Just a totally tragic and avoidable accident, it seemed. It just didn't have to happen at all, right? He just didn't have to go up in the rafters, but hindsight is 20/20. As a result of Martha Hart's ill feeling towards the WWE, Owen has never been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame to date, despite many wanting that to happen. Owen is buried in Queen's Park Cemetery in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Thanks for watching, guys. One of the great wrestling tragedies, this one, and something that could have so easily been avoided, but as I say, hindsight is everything. And rest in peace, Owen Hart. We'll catch you next time, guys. Woo! Thanks heaps, guys, for tuning into the video. Be sure to drop a scorpion death drop on that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome pro wrestling action from the WWE, the WCW, and much more.